All right, welcome back to another episode of the Rational Football League show. My name is Emmett Ford. I'm here with my co-host Brendan Ford. You guys can watch us on every week where we release a video on YouTube. We are also on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter and Spotify, all at the same handles. And don't be afraid to give us a follow at Brendan Ford at Emmett_Allen. You guys can engage with us, talk with us. We love to reach out to people too. But let's get right into it, B. All right. What is your most controversial thought as being a fan? I'll give you my example. For me personally, I don't like wearing jerseys. Like, I know I've got a couple of jerseys in the closet, but I never will wear them because I don't know, for me, it's just like I know playing football the whole time, like you work to earn that jersey, and just the thought of putting another man's name on your back, like just being able to throw it on, just seems so weird to me. And it's no hate to anyone else that does wear them. Like if that's what you love to do, fantastic. I know there's people that go crazy with them, they collect them, everything else. I'm not knocking them. Just for me, I can't, you'll never see me in a jersey probably.
Interesting. I'm actually the opposite. I'm wearing it's a baseball jersey, but I actually collect jerseys. I'm actually a big jersey guy. My controversial take, I would say that I actually prefer being at home watching a game versus actually going to a game. And
Really?
maybe that's because like Soldier Field is like low key kind of trash, right? The
Yeah.
experience, like the fan experience, isn't always the greatest. But like, dude, like you got to factor in like the money, the time, like the money, the further I could take it, and then you got to travel, grab food, whatever. I'm just cheap, and then like I like because now, well now that like
The
I'm
truth comes out.
yeah, right. Now that I'm at home, like I bought my own home, like I have like a two TV setup downstairs with
Oh
like a
my god.
bar. So I got like food. I got two TVs to watch like multiple games. You know what I mean? So I'm like living good in my like basement. You know what I mean?
I,
But
I,
yeah,
I feel like okay, I can partly agree on that one, and also with the jerseys too. Like I wear baseball jerseys because those are like whatever, like those are fine. You know, you didn't have to bust your ass to be a baseball player. But I was just
right.
thinking, like you go through like what we went through like in the summers and stuff, two a days. Like you have to earn that number on your back, and it just feels weird throwing that on. But baseball jerseys, it's almost like a fashion thing at this point. You just throw it on. You're like, all right, whatever. This goes well with these
True.
shorts.
Yeah.
But as for the games, I don't know. Like baseball, I love going to baseball games. And I think we're kind
Me
of
too.
blessed here in Northern California. We have Oracle Park, which has got to be the most beautiful ballpark in North America. I mean, it's right on McCovey Cove. I know it was built in like 2001, but it's still such a great, beautiful ballpark. They have such unique food. Like you can go get crab sandwiches there. They have tri-tip, they have pizza, they have like just such a plethora of different foods. I've only been to one 49ers game, and it was a preseason game that I was, a season ticket holder was very nice, and she gave me and my girlfriend the tickets because he wasn't able to go. But I mean, I really had a good experience there. It was nice to be in that atmosphere of electric fans. But I do also appreciate watching like baseball games at home because the Giants also have Hall of Fame broadcasters. They have Dwayne Kuiper, Kruk, we have John Miller, we have Dave Fleming and Sean Estes, and all these guys that do great breakdowns of the game and have great stories and insider. So it's even when like we go to like a Giants game, like we'll sometimes like still put the headphone in and like try to listen to the broadcast because we
Yeah.
really love those dudes. And I mean they've been the broadcasters since I think I was born. So I mean, all right, that's the kind of you prefer to watch it at home. Like
Well, I think it also like if because there's a lot of factors here, right? When you go to a Bears game, right, you got to deal with the drive first of all, which leads to traffic. Parking around Soldier Field sucks. Like it's like a nightmare. I actually never been tailgating there before, so I can't really speak on that experience. But
mhm.
on the flip side, like I think if it was a better setup, I would like it more. I've been to a couple Green Bay Packer games at Lambeau, and their experience is pretty cool. Like obviously,
Okay.
like Green Bay and Chicago are two very different cities. You don't deal with like the barely moving traffic for like
Yeah.
45 minutes to travel like 1 mile, right? And
Yeah.
then they have a cool area for like tailgating, bunch of people there.
That's because
Uh,
those Packers fans get there at 5 a.m. to start tailgating.
they get there early. I've been there for a couple of noon games and we pulled up maybe like 9. at nine, at
Yeah,
nine, three
yeah.
hours before kickoff.
Yeah, they're like,
Uh,
we're there for Bloody Marys. There just happens to be a sporting event going on behind us.
yeah, I know the Vikings have the U.S. Bank Stadium, and like
Mhm.
I heard a lot of people say that's like one of the best like fan experiences there.
Really?
So maybe if the stadium was like revamped, I would enjoy going to Bears game more. But yeah, as of right now, I have my two TV set up, get the food, a bar, boom, we're like chilling.
Yeah. I mean, especially like for football, I feel like I almost feel like I'd want to be there more because I mean, you don't get like the localized broadcast like you do with baseball. And sometimes you'll watch a game and you can tell the broadcaster has a little bit of a maybe bias against your team. So you almost get frustrated listening to the game. You're like,
That's true.
they're like, oh, well, that was for sure a catch. Like, it wasn't a catch, dude. You're just really hoping for this team, or you're pulling for this team because you used to play for them, or whatever it is. You're like, I don't. That's it's sometimes that just becomes more frustrating than like the actual game itself. So I feel like that's probably a little bit, but I do obviously enjoy watching football games. But
Oh, for sure, for sure.
all right, let's move on. We can get to our first main topic today. We are going to discuss the quarterback bubble that seems to be forming here. And what we mean by that specifically is that, as these salary cap hits are going up higher and higher, is quarterback play matching those hits? I feel like for me, just to start out, I'd say I feel like we can see the quarterback bubble is starting to like, hit a point here because I mean, for 2023, all the cap hits are normal. I think the highest one was like 40 million. I think it's Patrick Mahomes, and then it's like Ryan Tannehill, I believe.
Yeah,
So you start looking at 2024, and you have Deshaun Watson is the number one cap hit at 64 million. You have Dak Prescott's number two at 60, Kyler Murray at 52, Stafford at 50, Josh Allen at 47, and then you finally get to Mahomes at 47 as well. And then you have Daniel Jones at 45. And I can keep going on with that, but you kind of get the gist of it is that, some of these guys are getting paid an amount that's really not equivalent to what the level of play is. I mean, just, I'm not saying they're bad quarterbacks. They're saying that, would you really take Dak over Mahomes, or is Dak $13 million better than Mahomes? I mean, you got to really think of what $13 million is. I mean, that's pretty much a Christian McCaffrey. Is Deshaun Watson almost $20 million better than Mahomes? Is Deshaun Watson worth almost two Nick Bosa's?
dude, that when he said that during the pre-show meeting, I was like, damn, that's a good way of putting that. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you really got to think about it. Like the level of play you're getting from Deshaun Watson. I mean, I would argue for sure, absolutely, Patrick Mahomes is worth two Nick Bosa's. I mean, that guy can overcome any deficiency your team has.
oh yeah,
He's the best of this generation. He's the guy we're going to be talking about as an all-time great when it's all said and done.
oh yeah,
Deshaun Watson. I mean, Dak. I mean, is Dak for let's put for Cowboys fans, is Dak worth two of Micah Parsons? You
hell
know,
no.
you start looking at some of these numbers. Stafford at 50 million. I mean, that's a Trent Williams, and a George Kittle.
Yeah,
Is Stafford worth Trent Williams and George Kittle? I know I'm using a lot of 49ers examples. That's just because I know their cap hits off the top of my head. So I think when you start looking at it, I think there is a bubble that's starting to burst. And even as we're in a segment we're going to be talking about later, when we were talking about, I think it was PFF actually that was talking about, ranking teams' cores. And they had, I think, 49ers at number 7, or I think they left them off. No, I think they're at number 7, because they didn't have a quarterback. But the top one was like Patrick Mahomes with Tooney and Kelsey and a guard in the center. And it's like, what point does the quarterback value start to get a little bit excessive?
yeah.
Sure, maybe that works for Patrick Mahomes, but I think some of the other guys on the list were like Dak or Murray or whatever it was. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I know there's another content creator named Jordan Elliott who kind of mentioned it as well. It's like, we get into this point where we're really overvaluing what a quarterback can do. I mean, there's only so much a quarterback can cover up or mask. I mean, again, Patrick Mahomes is obviously the exception to that rule. He's so talented, he can cover up a lot of deficiencies. Can Deshaun Watson cover up a lot of deficiencies? Can Dak? Can Murray? Can Stafford? I mean, even I think you get to a point with Josh Allen when you start asking the same question. Can he cover up a lot of deficiencies?
Right. Yeah.
So, but what's your take on that? What's your opinion on that?
It's an interesting topic. I watched the Pat McAfee show a couple of days ago. I can't remember what day exactly. Michael Lombardi was on there,
Mhm.
and they were talking about a similar topic about the quarterback and how much money they're getting, whatever. And he pretty much said the reason why quarterbacks are getting paid so much is because there's a low supply of good slash great quarterbacks, right? So if there's a low supply of them, price goes up, which I thought was pretty interesting because I started thinking about it, and like to your point about is money, the money value in par with the skill value that these quarterbacks are bringing. You could almost make a case as a whole, maybe the quarterback's skill level play is lesser than what it was maybe 10, 15 years ago, right? I can't think of all the quarterbacks they're playing at that time, but we had Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, we had Philip Rivers,
Ben
right? And
Roethlisberger,
yeah, Big
Eli
Ben.
Manning.
The list can go on and on.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting topic because, and in a way, I can see that, right? If you're going to look at like the tiers of quarterbacks, right? You have Mahomes tier one,
Mhm.
and then pretty big gap between tier two,
Right.
right? What maybe you put like a Burrow in there, Allen, maybe even Rodgers, right? And then you would think a pretty other like good sized gap between the other tiers, right? So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's not a good reason that I can think of why quarterbacks are getting paid a whole lot, other than these like people in the front offices do think there is a low supply of them, and rather to give the current quarterback a big ass paycheck versus going out and trying to find a new one.
Yeah, but I mean, at a certain point, and I kind of disagree a little bit with Lombardi there. I feel like we have, so well, maybe I actually technically agree with him. You guys can interpret it how you like it. We have less elite quarterbacks for sure. We have Mahomes and Burrow. Those are the only ones I feel confident saying are elite quarterbacks. Josh Allen, I mean, you got to one AFC championship game, and ever since he had been knocked out of the AFC divisional round. Jalen Hurts, before anyone gets mad at me for that, I've liked Jalen Hurts since he was at Oklahoma. I love the way he played there. I love the way he handled the situation in Alabama. I had confidence when he got drafted that he could be a franchise quarterback. I just need to see another year of it or another 2 years of it to really cement that this is a real thing and he's not going to regress, because I feel like as fans sometimes we forget progress is not always linear. Just because he played great this year doesn't mean he's going to consistently play like that forever and ever. He might regress. He might have a bad year this year, then a good one. But anyway, I digress. Or even like Herbert, playing a little bit of that Philip Rivers role of great regular season, nothing in the postseason. So, I mean, I feel like the level of quarterback play has definitely risen over the past 10 years. Like the average quarterback is much better today than he was back in 2013 or 2012. But I feel like at the same time, like I said, elite quarterbacks just really aren't there. So at what point does a team, and maybe we're not at that point yet, but at what point does the team start looking at, just to use a maybe future example, like Kenny Pickett, whenever he becomes due for a contract, and go, yeah, dude, we really don't want to pay you $65 million a year. We don't want to pay you $50 million a year. Like, we think we could replace you in the draft. I mean, if you look at 2021 and 2020, I think we looked at it in the pre-show, it was like 60% of the first round quarterbacks taken have ended up being either good or great quarterback. So do you roll with Kenny Pickett at $60 million and have to deplete the rest of your roster? Or do you spend a first round pick on one of these guys that has a 60% chance of being really good? So yeah, I just feel like we're getting to a point here where we're starting to get into the ridiculous realm of quarterbacks and what their projected value is and what their expectation is. I mean, again, you start looking at these numbers. Dak Prescott, $60 million. That's like 2 Justin Jeffersons. Would you rather have a rookie on a cheat deal, a Drake May on a cheat deal, or Michael Penix Jr. so you don't get a top 3 pick, and Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, throwing to 2 Justin Jeffersons, or would you rather have, Dak Prescott throwing to 2 rookie receivers?
Yeah.
If that's the trade-off, at what point does a team start looking the other way? And I think we are starting to see a little bit of it here, because even looking at Daniel Jones's contract of $45 million. If you look at some of these newer contracts that are coming up, and this next offseason is going to be big with, like, Oh gosh, Kirk Cousins coming available. I think we're starting to see teams starting to really push back on, okay, we're not giving you guys unlimited, endless money here. Like, we don't think you're worth 60 million. Even with receiver rates, you see these teams that really don't want to touch 30 million. I think it was Debo got 26. I think AJ Brown got like 27. I'm trying to remember what another recent receiver contract was that was like 24.
I'm gonna look up what Adams got
I think
with
Adams is the only one that's
Vegas.
gotten like 30. Like, I think he just barely touched 30.
Wonder what Hill's contract is. Look
Okay.
that up then, because Hill you think will get pretty decent money.
He might have been the one that was like 24 million. But I think you're starting to see already with the same kind of pushback with receivers, that I think they're a little further along in their slow decline, is that teams are looking at this and going, there's so many young receivers coming out in the draft that you got to really mess up to not draft a great one. Do we really want to pay this guy $30 million and we want to pay him 10% of our entire salary cap when we can just draft a guy that's going to be relatively cheap and might play at the same level in a year or two? So I think as the college game is now producing better players, it's starting to become more difficult for these teams to justify giving these guys, receiver over 30 million or at quarterback over 60 million. And I also understand that, maybe a fan might argue, well, there's restructures, they can, push the can on the line, they can add void years, but eventually you need to pay those void years. So eventually it's going to hurt your team. We just assume this cap is going to shoot up forever and ever and ever and ever. But if at any time we have another like COVID year like we did before, I mean, it's starting to feel like at least half the league is going to be really, in a bad spot with their salary cap situation.
Yeah. And what, in your opinion, what kind of jump started this bubble with the quarterback contracts?
Oh boy. I know it's going to seem a little weird, but the first one that comes to my mind is Joe Flacco.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I think it was 2012, no, it might have been 2013 or 2014. He got the first deal where he hit like $20 million. And then just from there, every year since, it's been about beating that next top contract. And as the rules have shifted, as passing game has become more prioritized and safety has been more prioritized, these teams have been more comfortable, like, yeah, sure, we'll give him 25. Yeah, we'll give him 27, 20. I mean, just think about it. It was what, 4 years ago, I think, 2018 or 2017, where Jimmy Garoppolo set the record at $28 million a year at quarterback. We're now at $64 million starting next year, starting 2024. So in 6 years, it's gone up $30 million almost. I mean, it's almost doubled.
And dude, I just looked up the Joe Flacco contract numbers. Just to give you all some like context here. From 2008, 2012, he was on his rookie deal, so whatever, right? Mm-hmm. 2013 got a contract extension, 6 year, 120 and like change, so about 20 mil a year.
That was the first $20 million quarterback.
Is a huge deal. 2016, a new contract. It was a 3 year, 66 and change, right? So looking at 22 mil average.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was back in 2016. That was 22 average, and now, I mean, we didn't look at the numbers now for average like yearly salary for a quarterback, but I feel like it has definitely increased from that 22.
Yeah, it's probably around 30 to 35 at this point, it seems like. But yeah, I think that was like the first
7 years ago.
Yeah, I think that was the first contract that really changed everything, because I think that's when there was a huge conversation. I remember the conversation like on Sports Center and everywhere else at the time was, is Joe Flacco an elite quarterback? Because now we're giving him top quarterback money and we don't even think he's elite. It kind of just opened the doors, because then at that point it's like, well, Peyton Manning became a free agent, I think the year after, whatever it was. To sit here and go, well, if Joe Flacco's worth 20, what's Peyton Manning worth? What's Tom Brady worth? What was Aaron Rodgers worth at the time? And I think it just kind of created this boom where every quarterback was trying to like reset the market with their deals. Then you had Kirk Cousins, who had like 2 or 3 years of franchise tags, which just kept, going through the roof. So I think that was like the first deal to me that I could think of that really, started the process. And then we can look at a deal like Deshaun Watson's that, maybe has now accelerated the process and might get us to that breaking point. Like that might have might have actually just set the ceiling. And so there seems to be a lot of teams that really don't want to touch that number. They're like, we're not giving you a fully guaranteed contract and we're not touching 64 million. Because what did Lamar sign for? Was it 50 something million, 58, I think?
Yeah, so I looked it up. I have a list here of
Okay.
the average salary by like quarterback, and Lamar is at 52 million
Yeah,
is his
52.
average
So
yearly. And then going back, we were saying about how the average, like the overall average, has increased, right? So Jimmy G listed at 17th highest average salary. He's at 24 mil.
yeah. So I
And
mean,
that's at 17, bro.
yeah, that's right.
Like that's
So
wild.
again, so that's again kind of what I'm saying is like, these numbers, teams aren't willing to sit here and reset the quarterback market now with every new deal like they were 2 or 3 years ago. Whereas like every time someone signed a new deal, it was to reset the market. Now it's slow, and even Lamar Jackson, it's like, all right, well, here's 52. Like we're not going to give you 64, but here's 52. So do we start seeing a little bit of a turn down and decline here on how much quarterbacks are getting paid?
I mean, I see a lot of 50s and mid 40s on this list.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Derek Carr is at 37.5 million right now.
Yep.
He's
Yeah,
listed
that's
at
for
12th.
and then for actually in 2025, he goes up to 46 million cap. He's the number seventh highest quarterback hit in 2025. So again, that's kind of my point is at what point do these teams who are always notoriously frugal start looking at this list? I didn't read the 2025, I only read 2024, but I'll read 2025 real quick. Watson's at 64, Josh Allen's at 57, a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers, 41, is at 56 million. Russell Wilson's at 55, Stafford's at 51, Mahomes is still at 49 at the number 6 hit. Carr's at 46, Murray's at 46, Lamar's at 44, and Daniel Jones is at 40. Of those lists, how many of these guys do you think are really irreplaceable on their team? Maybe
Dude,
half of them.
dude.
Maybe. So
Mahomes, best quarterback right there. And right now, right?
yeah.
He's 7th on this list of
Yep.
highest average salary. That's crazy. He's at 45 mil right now.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, at what point, for example, like when Kenny Pickett comes up for his deal, I'm sorry to keep using Kenny Pickett. He's just the first kind of quarterback that comes off the top of my head. Kenny Pickett or Mac Jones. Let's use those two. When these guys come up for deals and they go, "Hey, we want 50 million." If you're the Patriots or the Steelers, do you look at them and go, "Yeah, we'll give them 50 million. You'll give them, 20% of our entire budget," or do you look and go, "I think we can get another guy in the draft and just roll with that."
I mean,
that maybe I know that idea was tried out before. I think it was like 8 years ago, where teams like, "Oh, we'll just draft a quarterback in the first round every year," and it flopped. But I think we're starting to get to a price point where it's like, okay, maybe this makes more sense now. Before it was like, all right, we'll just pay the quarterback we know because we don't want to get fired. But at this point, it's like, do we really want to use this much of our budget on a guy that's just average?
I mean, think about Burrow, bro.
Yeah.
So on his rookie deal right now, it's at $9 million a year average, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, if you look at this like list, you have Lamar Jackson making on average 52 mil. Jalen Hurts is 51. Aaron Rodgers is at 50. What do you think Burrow's going to ask for?
He's going to ask for 64.
More than all. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be a huge deal. And then you think about, can the Bengals even afford everyone on their current core?
No, they won't. That's
no way.
Kind of like what the discussion we're having is if you're I mean, look at the Cowboys and look what they've had to give up so far because of Dak's contract, and look at what they're going to have to continue to give up because of Dak's contract. And you really have to rely on nailing your draft picks to validate these. And if you have any slippage of not nailing on Pro Bowl draft picks, you could really watch your roster deteriorate pretty quickly here. So I do see the bubble. I do see it starting to turn down here. I imagine, well, again, we'll probably see it. You won't like directly hear it. You'll just start noticing that these contracts that these quarterbacks are getting are not as high. They're not record setting anymore. Just like you've kind of noticed, if you go back and now rethink about the receivers, they're no longer record setting. No one's like, well, this is 32. And then he immediately signed for 33. And then he got 35. It's now like, okay, we're all in the mid to low 20s. So,
I mean, and I know Burrow said like he will take a team friendly deal, right? But in the perspective of a quarterback contract, what's team friendly?
Yeah, at this point.
Because 40 mil is what Stafford, Jones, and Prescott are making, and they're tied for 9th highest average salary.
Yeah.
Like 40 mil is top nine, right?
Yeah.
Then you have
With their
Carr at
actual hits
37.
being way higher. With their, I mean, that's what their average is, but their actual cap hits are way
The
higher
actual
than that.
cap hits are higher, right? Correct. And then Derek Carr is at 37.5. So you're telling me like what's team friendly though? Because Burrow is considered what, the second best quarterback right now?
Yeah.
You think he's really going to take what Derek Carr is making?
Yeah. He's not settling for 35. There's no way.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
team
No.
friendly will probably be 50 for him, you know, because he should be getting 65. So team friendly will be
Exactly.
50 for him. So with
Exactly.
that money,
Like,
are you able to re-sign T. Higgins?
I mean, Jared Goff is making 33.5. That's
Yeah.
his like average. You think Burrow's gonna settle for 33?
Yeah. And that's, again, do you think the Lions are really thinking, well, we can't replace Jared Goff? They already did. They drafted Hendon Hooker
Right.
because they're like, we're not going to continue to pay our quarterback who's average $33
Exactly.
million a year. Like that's, you know, that's a Nick Bosa. Is Jared Goff about equivalent to Nick Bosa? Again, so I keep using the same, you know, analogy there, you know, but is Jared Goff worth Fred Warner and George Kittle? To use a
Right.
different money
No.
comparison there.
Right.
You know, is he that irreplaceable? So
That's why I hope people will come out and like maybe someone did when Burrow said that. Like what's considered team friendly nowadays?
right.
But that's gonna be it's still a big chunk of like money there.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like it's one of those stories you won't ever like. I doubt there'll be a whole article written about it, but if you just watch kind of what happens, you'll start to see these teams really start, you know, pushing back on it. And some team is going to get crazy and they're going to say, you know what, forget it. We'll just trade our Dak Prescott, try to move up, you know, to a top pick and just draft a new quarterback. Because again, you know, forget it. Like it's going to be way cheaper to do that than to pay Dak, you know, 80 million. Because that's where at this point, that's where the market seems like it's going to go eventually.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
If the average right now is the top average is 52 million,
yeah.
what does it look like in 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, and that's grown over the past 6 years. It's grown. Again, the top contract was 27. Now the average is what you said, 52 for the highest.
No, for the highest, yeah, that's Jackson's deal.
Yeah,
$52 million a year average.
So, but speaking of money situations and roster buildings, I know it's a topic we talked about last week. You know, what's the future of the position? We talked about Dalvin Cook. There's been more stories from Saquon Barkley. JT Taylor or Jonathan Taylor talked on the Pat McAfee show, or he talked at a camp, and then Pat McAfee talked about it.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems to still be a conversation, and I think it's going to continue to be a conversation. But running backs, I mean, what do we do to fix this situation? How do we rectify this situation? I know it's easier for fans because we got a lot of comments about it too. Of, well, you can do a running back by committee, or oh well, the WAR doesn't fit there, or based on these analytics, you know, you should never pay your running back. And I get that. Sure, that's fine and all great and dandy. But these are real people. Like, that's not how real people work. They aren't data points. So what do you think running backs need to do, or what do you think running backs will do to try to like fix this situation? Because I doubt they're just going to allow themselves to just be devalued into nothing.
It's the opposite problem from what we talked about with the quarterbacks, right? Quarterback contracts are getting higher because front offices think there's a low supply of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the opposite for running backs, right? Front offices think, well, we have tons of running backs here, so their price value goes down, right? So I don't think anything really a running back can do, or running backs in general, because GMs, people think, coaches think, well, there's thousands of, running backs that we could sign at any given point. I mean, thousands is a little bit over dramatic, but tons of running backs. Yeah, right. There's a good amount of running backs we can sign and could give us 4 yards a carry. So why would I spend $16 million per year on one, right? If I can get 3 average to good ones and save myself $14 million.
I mean, is there really that many average to good running backs though? I mean, just to give you an example, I know people talk about like, oh, look at Elijah Mitchell for the 49ers. He was an undrafted guy. And don't get me wrong, I like Elijah Mitchell. I think he's a good running back and everything. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. I don't even think he's broken 1,000 yards. You know, he's been able to get, I think, the 600 to 800 range, But I mean, if he was so good, why did they trade for Christian McCaffrey?
Right.
So, I think the notion that there's just this endless supply of good running backs is a little bit naive. I mean, just because a running back has a good game or two doesn't mean that they're a good running back. Just like, if a receiver has a 13, what was it? Chris Matthews, I think that was his name. Like, when the Seahawks won the Super Bowl, had an amazing Super Bowl game, had like 113 or 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. Never heard from again.
Yeah.
I mean, players and primarily also running backs can have a good game or a good stretch of games, but are they consistently game changers? I would argue there's less elite running backs than there were. I mean, again, if you look back, not to sit here and just be super nostalgic about everything, but you used to have like Jamal Charles and Arian Foster, and oh my gosh, who's the guy that played the running back for the Bears? Matt Forte. You used to have LT at the end of his career. You had Frank Gore. I mean, you used to have Adrian Peterson. You used to have a great amount of great running backs, and now I just feel like you don't have any. And it feels like it kind of started back in about 2015, 2016, where they started like using the term the scat back. I think it was Lance Dunbar on the Cowboys that was like the first one I could think of at the top of my head where it was like really like the common thing where you brought this running back in for passing situations. And then it kind of evolved from there to running back by committee, where you thought, oh, we can have this running back do our inside game, this one does the pass blocking, and this one does all our catching out the backfield. And we saw it really take off in 2016 with Kyle Shanahan's Atlanta Falcons, where you had Devontae Freeman and you had, oh my gosh, Tevin Coleman, who was your inside guy versus your outside guy. But I think the problem that fans don't really recognize this, from a defensive perspective, you can probably speak on this a little more, is that you can now identify a little bit better of what play is coming. If you know their pass blocking or their scat back, their receiving back is in the game, you feel more comfortable coming out in like a dime package or a nickel package because they're more likely they're going to pass it. But if they bring in Derrick Henry, you go, okay, we're going to stack the box. We're going to go 4-3 or 4-4. We're going to, we're going to really get a bunch of this in here because they're more likely going to run. You're automatically telling on yourself and giving an indicator to the defense.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I think an additional benefit of these bell cow, these elite running backs is if you have Saquon Barkley in there, he can catch. It could be a pass play. He can pass block. It could still be a pass play. He can run inside. Is that where it's going? He can run outside zone as well. Is that you as a defender? It doesn't give you any kind of a tell. And defenders are always looking for some kind of inside tell. Like, well, I remember once they were talking. At least this is back when I think it was in college when they were talking about like, if you're looking at the pressure on the knuckles of the O lineman, if it's white, it means it's a run play because they're really leaning forward to explode out. Versus if there's it's pink or it's a regular color, you can tell that they're setting up to. I mean, that's just how like nuanced defenses are trying to find any kind of like insider information.
Yeah.
So why would a running back by committee be such a great idea?
Yeah. Defense love to look for tendencies. So that's one. I mean, obviously, if you have a scat bat in there, defense will come out and dime just based off like the personnel, right? So usually, if a scat back going in the game, probably in like 10 personnel. So they put.
You can almost contribute that to as like an empty set if you have a scat back there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you said it right, and I'm a paraphrase what you said and kind of put my own twist on it. And through the eyes of a GM, I believe that they're not allocating a team's overall success to the running back position right now. Like if you think about their team and look at the way contracts are set up for various spots, right? Obviously, they think a quarterback carries more weight to a team winning a game versus a running back, which is fair.
Yeah.
Which is fair, right?
Yeah.
So if you think take the Giants, for example, right? If you're the GM there, right? I forget his name, like Bill something, I think, right? Or Bob or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So you think about like, okay, they had a pretty decent season last year, made the playoffs, won a playoff game, right? Who do you think factored into that good season more? Daniel Jones or Barkley? And they made their choice. And it's like Daniel Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think to your point, like I think they are this less game-changing, win-changing running backs. I mean, can't think of a team right now, maybe besides the Titans, that really rely on their running back to win games.
Well, I mean, the 49ers, I can make an argument that they do.
Oh yeah, 49ers too. Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot
for
about
for sure. I mean, in a way, you can almost argue that the Eagles do. I mean, they use Jalen Hurts in a lot in the run game as well as the pass game, but they use him in the run game. I mean, he's kind of like they're a hybrid quarterback running. I know he's a quarterback, but I just mean like in terms of like the effect he has on the run game is equivalent to a running back because of his great ability to run and run the read option or quarterback power or whatever. The quarterback sneak was unstoppable for him. So they didn't need a power back. They had Jalen Hurts who could just quarterback sneak it for a touchdown. So he
it. Right.
almost eliminated the need for a running back on that team because
He does it.
I'm trying to say that really sensitively because I'm not trying to say Jalen Hurts is a running back, but like,
No, we're not knocking him. Trust me, I'm
yeah,
a Bears fan. I
he
get that all the time
but he
about
was able to help fill that role for them with his
right,
abilities are. Again,
which
great
is which
passer,
is
great quarterback.
great.
That's what he does first. But like,
Yeah,
that's how special that dude is. But but if you look at the Falcons, I mean, they've put they're very run reliant right now. Like, oh my gosh, Algier, I think was Tyler Algier was their running back
yes, number
last year.
25,
He
I
had a
think,
great
right?
rookie
Yeah,
year, but he really was the driving force of that offense, more so than you would think Kyle Pitts, and Drake London as well, of course. Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas was a good driving force for that offense. Oh my gosh, I had a great example I was trying to think of right now off the top of my head about what fits this.
I mean, the point I'm trying to hit home too is like, yeah, they could be good pieces, right? But are they the reason why they win games for the overall most part, right? Like,
I mean,
can Raiders look back, the Raiders like front office and say, yeah, we won that game because of Josh Jacobs, and they could have. I didn't watch
I
any Raiders games. You know what I mean? They could be true,
here's
but
what
I
I'll say
think
about
that's a
it.
question they're like asking.
I think yes. I think I think a lot of again because I think a lot of people just sit and go, well, as long as we got a running back there that can run the ball, we're fine. We just need a guy that's fast. It's fine. I mean, if you have an elite running back, it keeps the defense honest. You can't just run out there and nickel and dime every time because if you do, you have big bodies on small bodies. That running back's gonna gas you. I mean, again, Austin Eckler put up 18 touchdowns. You're telling me that wasn't a driving force for the Chargers at all? I mean,
Right. But he also got like paid though too.
no. I mean, he took a $2 million deal for this year.
Did he? I thought he signed like a 10 or something like that.
I know he was sitting out for one, and then he ultimately just said, "Fine, I'll take a 1 year small amount deal so I can test free agency or whatever it was." I believe that was the end result of that. But again, I feel like running backs do a lot of not just like obvious statistic eye popping things, but they do blitz pickup. And that's what their pass blocking is when they send that 6 man or there's someone like blows through the O line, they're there to help secure the quarterback for just a little bit longer. They keep defenses honest that way. They can't just sit here and run in dime packages or nickel packages the entire game. So I mean, again, I think running backs do contribute a lot of non-quantifiable perks and benefits. But again, if you're an elite running back, and this is obviously this is an extreme not extreme situation, extreme thought here. But at what point does Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, do these guys, get together and say, you know what, forget this, we're sitting out. If these teams think we're so replaceable, let them try to replace us. It's one thing when one guy does. When Bell did it, it was just him. And they kind of already had another guy in the room that they really liked. But if you had all these guys do it at once, all the top, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Derrick Henry, you include him in that too, 10 guys do it. At what point do these teams sit here and go, okay, we need to draw attention to this?
Yeah. I mean, with that, you just put yourself in the feet of the actual player. Like, are they really going to bypass money? You know what I mean? Like, to sit out. And
I mean,
we talked about this last week too. The league already view the shelf life of a running back pretty like low. So yeah, they could do that. You're right. I mean, there's always strength in numbers for for a certain, I don't know, like movement, if you want to call it. But then if you think about it, like they're trying to get the most money that they can because they already know like what Barkley, once he get his second deal, is he gonna get a third one?
But that's that kind of further adds to my point is you value what's now versus the future. Because if this doesn't happen, or some of the variation of, some kind of statement point to the league's going to keep devaluing them. I mean, it's hard for running backs have to fight right now to get $10 million. What's that going to be in 5 years if this trend continues? Do they have to,
Well,
they're gonna have to start fighting for 8. They're gonna have to start fighting for 6. At some point, their average value is going to become kickers. I mean, that's just what the trend is.
yeah.
So at what point do you sit here and go, man, fuck that? Like, I'm not gonna keep sitting here and losing my body over, a third of what receivers make, or 1/6 of what Deshaun Watson makes. I mean,
And
again, I know, obviously it's an easy thing to just sit here and say, oh, they'll just strike. But at a certain point, like, you got to really bring, attention to these GMs face about this, of we aren't easily replaceable. You can't just draft 3 dudes out of college and say they're all going to fill this need. It's not real. It's not practical. It's just, it's not. I mean, can you imagine how much different the 49ers would be right now without Christian McCaffrey? If Elijah Mitchell's our lead back, we're a much different team. What about the Colts? Where are the Colts right now? Jonathan Taylor isn't there. You talk about how rocky of a season it's going to be for Anthony Richardson this year. Now imagine it with no Jonathan Taylor, no star running back.
Yeah. Well, I want to flesh out my thought a little bit better. I kind of want to explain it further. Like, they could strike and sit out, right? But there's no guarantee that would benefit them right now, right? Because it's going to take years to kind of build up the value of the running back spot, right? So that's why I'm trying to put myself in the eyes of like Barkley, right? You'd be like, yeah, I could sit out and get other guys to sit out with me, try to get money back to what we do, but there's no guarantee that would benefit them right now, because the overall thoughts on the running back spot are so low, right? I mean, sure, it could be a noble thing to do, right? But that might benefit running backs 10 years from now, and not them. And 10 years from now, they're already done playing. So they set out and then getting like money, and then like they're whatever.
Or could benefit guys right now like Bijan Robinson. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be in a similar situation. He's probably going to come out. He's probably going to perform great. He's probably going to do a great job, especially in that Atlanta offense. We talked about Tyler. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his last name. It's like Allgeier. I think it's Allgeier. And the great season he had last year. And I think Bijan Robinson's going to blow the doors off of that. So you're kind of doing it for guys like that. But I mean, there needs to be, something that really throws us into these GMs' faces of, hey, we're not just a data point. Hey, we have value. There's a reason we keep helping these teams. I mean,
yeah.
Like I said,
you got to be a pretty selfless person. That's I guess that's basically the point I'm trying to make. Is like, players. I mean, would you sit out a whole season not make money for a guy who probably won't get a new contract for another 4 years?
I mean, again, that's a tough question. I'm obviously not
it's tough,
in their
right?
shoes. I don't make that kind of money. But you know what?
Right.
If it's a matter of if I'm sitting here looking at it, I would like to think I would. I would like to think I would sit here and go, you know what? And even for a little bit of a selfish reason, because I know I'm not going to get that third contract, which is kind of part of the problem. I mean, Frank Gore played until he was 40. This whole concept of guys stop playing at 27 at running back is fairly new. I mean, again, if we're talking about Jamal Charles, if we're talking about how old is Matt Forte, 33? I mean, guys, running backs used to play until they're, early 30s, mid 30s, whatever it was. They weren't as good. They obviously declined. I'm not sitting here saying that, Jamal Charles was the same Jamal Charles as his prime as he was at the end, but it wasn't like Jamal Charles retired at 27 and was just done. I mean, it just, when was his?
I think Forte retired and he was like 32-ish.
So again, I mean, this whole concept, I mean, that's 5 years past 27.
Yeah.
That's a third contract. And that these guys aren't getting. So I mean, it's a little bit of a selfish reason, because they're so devalued. They're not even getting third contracts. Hell, they're talking about not even giving them second contracts. So, I mean, like I said, we're getting to a point where it's not just like, oh, well, it doesn't make sense to do it. We're getting to a point where it's getting really disrespectful to not do it.
Trust me, dude. I'm in the camp of pay them. Like, every player should be paid what they're worth, especially the very good ones like a Barkley or CMC or a Derrick Henry, whatever. I just don't see. I don't know. Like, I just don't see someone sitting out a year Like, yeah, it could. Like, let's say he sat out the season. I'm talking about Barkley, and the
Yeah.
Giants flopped, win 5 games. Like, oh, Barkley was the reason why we went to playoffs and won a playoff game. Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's gonna get paid hella, right?
Yeah.
But like, what if that doesn't happen? And now, worst case scenario, he sat out this year. And they're like, actually, we're not going to resign you at all because we still won 10 games, made the playoffs, whatever. Now he just lost a whole opportunity to get a second deal from the Giants. Now, it might be a team to sign him, right?
Well,
Whatever. But
again,
it
I
could be
kind of
less
think that
value.
further, that would kind of, I think, solidify the point. I don't see that happening. I don't
Right.
honestly, I don't see a world where the Giants win 10 games without Saquon Barkley. I don't see a reality where the Giants make the postseason last year without Saquon Barkley. I mean, that's the impact I believe Saquon has on that team. Here's an example. Christian McCaffrey, when he came to the 49ers, they were 3-4. In his first game, we got whopped by the Kansas City Chiefs. He had like 2 days to learn the playbook. After that, we didn't lose a game until the NFC Championship game
Right.
because of Christian McCaffrey. Even at that, in the first half, he kept us in that game. It was 7-14 going into halftime, I believe, or right
Right.
before halftime, because he put the team on his back and literally ran through the entire Eagles defense for a touchdown.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, running backs aren't as easily replaceable as people like to think. You can't just draft a guy and
Well, the
throw
really good ones, they think. I mean, obviously,
right.
CMC, Barkley, Henry,
Jonathan Taylor. I mean, there's probably like
JT,
5 or 6 guys that I'm saying probably should be fighting for
paid
like a top
pretty
top
well. Right.
contract kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And then there are other, again, like with quarterbacks and like with receivers,
There's
there's obviously,
tiers.
there's tiers to it. I'm not saying every running back deserves 15-16 million dollars a year. But I think outside of like quarterback, I think running back of your non-lineman position can have the biggest effect on a team
Yeah.
because you can give them the ball 20, 30 times a game.
Yeah.
You
For
can't
sure.
you can't throw a ball to Justin Jefferson 20, 30 times. He's not coming down with 20, 30 catches a game. The amount of impact he can have is limited to his small amount of touches and who's throwing him the ball.
Yeah. No, trust me. I'm totally on board with what you're saying. I'm
Yeah,
more or less trying to give the other side as like
I get
you.
it. I
I mean,
don't. I think we have one data point where it suggests that maybe running backs weren't as valued. And that's when Le'Veon Bell sat out and they had James Conner, who had a really good year and then never had another good year again.
yeah. But they also
So
kind of derailed Bell's career at the same point though too. Like that like
that's because he
move.
picked to go to the Jets with Adam Gase. Adam Gase derailed everyone's career. So I
Yeah.
mean,
I'm just saying there's risk. I know Barkley said like, yeah, if I don't get a new deal, I might think about sitting
yeah,
out. I just think there's good amount of risk with sitting out. Like
no, for sure.
if I was in his shoes, I would not sit out, honestly.
For sure, there's absolutely a risk. If they all sat out and all these teams still had these great rushing attacks and went on to be super successful, yeah, it looks bad on you. And it really, at that point, you've ended your value. I think that what I'm talking about, the strike would be the line in the sand. If they do that and teams go on and have a great year, you forever never have any debate about running backs. You've literally proven when we took the top 6 or 7 or 8 out of the game, teams still had great running attacks. So but if they don't, it is the ultimate debate point of look what happened when they weren't there.
Right.
So I mean, it kind of that would be like the head it draws to of like we are going to physically show you, we are going to physically decide whether running backs are important. We're taking all the important ones out, all the elite ones out. If you guys can still run the ball at an elite level, it just shows that it really doesn't matter. If you guys can't, shut the fuck up and pay us.
Yeah, facts.
So
No,
and
true.
again, me personally, I don't view a world where I can't view a world where the Giants make the playoffs without Barkley.
Oh,
I
me
I
either. I
can't.
mean, I kind of just brought that up for like the risk involved
Yeah,
with it now, but like,
if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, if Jonathan Taylor for whatever reason cannot play this season, he sits out, he tears his ACL, whatever happens, I can make you can easily see the Colts being the number 1 overall pick
yeah,
because you're running on a rookie running back that or rookie quarterback that has to sit here, doesn't have a lot of experience, and has to rely on that with not very many of the weapons to throw to.
right.
Where are the Titans if Derrick Henry misses the season?
Oh, dude, Derrick Henry has been carrying the Titans since he joined the damn team.
Right, but he gets what's his contract? Is he 16 million or something like that?
Let me look it up.
You know, he carries the team like a quarterback, but gets paid a third of the price, maybe, and
Yeah,
zero of the recognition.
Hey, he's way more beneficial than Ryan Tannehill. I think Tannehill is getting paid like what?
He's
Well,
38, a cap hit of, oh my gosh, where'd he go? For this season, he's 38. It's his last year. That's why I couldn't find him on my 2024 and 2025 numbers.
where is he at? Yeah, so it says here 2023. Derrick Henry's cap hit is 16 million
Yeah.
and
So
change.
what is that? Less than half of what Ryan Tannehill's is?
And we can all agree here. Ryan's going to be gone after this season. So
Yeah, for sure. They are desperately trying to find a replacement. It's either going to be Will Levis or Malik Willis. So one of the guys that ends in Ivis is going to be the quarterback for this.
So to your point, they're paying a guy double the amount of money who will be gone by this point next year, right?
That
Versus
has
a
actively
guy
lost you games recently. Yeah.
who does not contribute that much at all to actually winning ball games over a guy who's carried the franchise on his back for the last at least 4 seasons.
What about Carson Wentz? Would you rather have Derrick Henry at 16, Derrick Henry or Carson Wentz?
I
Carson
don't
Wentz was
know.
recently
I'm
just
kidding.
getting 30 million. It was on his fourth team, is worth first round picks. You're telling me Carson Wentz is worth more than Derrick Henry or Jonathan Taylor or Saquon Barkley? I mean,
It's
again,
wild.
that's kind of my point about all of this is that sure, are there other positions that have value? Absolutely. Quarterback is a very valuable, very important position. It's overvalued right now, but it's still a very valuable, important position. Receivers, sure, they can be game changers and really helpful and do a great job. They get what they deserve at the 25 to 30 million range. I just think it's a matter of like to sit here and look at running backs and say, no, that was gross. I apologize for that.
I didn't even see it, bro. You're good.
Okay, good.
Handsome.
To sit here and go,
Handsome.
they are, you can replace it. Just draft two more in the next draft and you'll be okay. It's absolute crap. I mean, even
Yeah.
Kyle Shanahan, people saying you look at him as the running back guru and oh, look at these undrafted guys he finds. Still draft guys in the third round that continually bust. I
Yeah.
mean, if it were so easy, why these third round pick, Trey Sermons, the Tyrus Davis Price, why are these guys, Joe Williams, fourth round pick for Kyle Shanahan, why do these guys still bust? If it's just so easy, you just pick and grab a new one.
It's almost to your point, it's almost random. Like it's just you can't really predetermine what will help a player do well in the league. Like no matter where they're picked. I mean, we talked about that last week too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean, I feel like even at that, like there are some signs that you can tell when a guy's going to be elite. Like there's running backs. Like there was one I watched a few years ago from Louisiana Lafayette that I thought was. I never got his information or his details. I just saw at the gym, and I was just watching him. I'm like, that guy could play in the NFL. He would be one of those guys that's taken in the seventh round and all of a sudden explodes onto the seat, the team. Because I feel like maybe the criteria of what we're looking at running back is really like devalued. I think nowadays they look for a lot of guys that are just fast rather than looking for guys that have the speed plus the vision plus the patience plus the contact balance. Like you need all of those things to be a great running back, not just hands and speed. That's a receiver. So
yeah,
but I think I don't know. I hope it doesn't come to that, but I wouldn't if they announced in a couple weeks that's what's happening, I wouldn't be surprised because there really does need to be something to show these teams, hey guys, we are value. We do bring value to a team. We're not just kickers. We're not like guys that go out for one play a game and call it a day.
Yeah. Well, maybe the dude the Falcons just drafted. Maybe he's that guy that kind of recreates that like Spark CMC too. But those are 3 down backs.
Yeah.
Like maybe we got to get back to those days where we have a 3 down back who can do it all, and they kind of create more value that way. Because the more value you bring to the table, the more money you're gonna be paid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And even the argument of, oh well, what if he gets hurt? Okay, but look at the Vikings. What if Justin Jefferson gets hurt?
Yeah, any player.
Yeah, I mean, the same argument can always be made. Well, you gave Justin Jefferson a huge contract and he got hurt. Debo got a huge contract and he had, by his standards, his worst season.
Yeah.
I mean, that's to sit here and just put that on the running backs like it can't happen any other position. It's just absolutely a ludicrous argument, and it's not a genuine, serious conversation to have.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
All right, moving on to the final topic. We have the 33rd show. No, what was the 33rd?
I don't know exactly. I think it's just like a media platform. I don't only they have like a show, dude.
Oh, the 33rd team. That's what it is. The 33rd team.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking what kind of like
Oh,
comment,
yeah.
like a show or whatnot.
Yeah, but the 33rd team posted their top 10 rushing, or is it top 10 or top seven? Top seven
It's
rushing.
top 7 rushing attacks for the 2023 season.
Yeah. And the Bears were left off of it. I believe the 49ers were left off as well.
No, 49ers are at third.
49ers at third.
Yeah, which is so they have
I can't get this.
I'll give you all a list. We'll have it up here on my screen too. But the number one spot are the Ravens. Number 2 are the Packers. 3 Niners. 4 Titans. 5 Eagles. 6 Jets. 7 Colts.
What's funny about to me is even for 5 for the Eagles, and this isn't to knock the Eagles rushing attack. I do think they have a great rushing attack. I think they led the league in rushing last year. So, but they put Jalen Hurts and Philly's running backs. Like, how little effort did you put into this to where you like didn't even just Google their depth chart and put the running backs on there?
Yeah. No, dude, I was shocked when I saw this. Mostly because I mean the Bears just led the league in rushing last season, and they are returning 2 out of the 3 top rushing threats they had on that team.
Yeah, this is a very unserious list. Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson are number 7. And they've never played a game together. They've not like they've been a preseason game. How do you put them at 7 out of 32 when they've never played together?
I mean, look at 6. Breece Hall and Michael Carter. Okay, Hall is good.
Yeah, for sure.
But number 6.
And he didn't even play a whole year last year.
No, what he played like maybe half.
I think it was like half.
Yeah.
And then to sit here now, Derrick Henry at number 4. Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears number 4. And then you got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon at number 2. Like,
I mean, they're solid. They should probably be on there, but at number 2.
Yeah, I mean, for sure they're solid. I mean, again, speaking about the running back conversation, AJ Jones is another one that just took a team-friendly deal to stay in Green Bay. He had to take a pay cut after a great year. But yeah, definitely number 2. No, I mean, to me personally, I would probably put the Eagles at 1. I'd probably put the Niners at 2. I'd probably put the Ravens at 3. I'd probably then put the Bears at 4. The Packers are good at 5, and I'd probably put the Titans at 6, just because it is just Derrick Henry on himself. And again, if an injury does happen, you lose your entire rushing attack. And then for 7, I don't think I'd put anyone else on this list at 7.
Yeah. I think Chicago at 4 is fair. It's just, dude, like I don't get how they're not even top 7 on this list. Fields is ran for 1,100 yards.
Who does a top 7? It's top 5, top 10. Even numbers, guys. Nice, solid numbers to use. Top 7?
Yeah.
Why don't you just do a top 9? Why don't you do a top, 3.5 then? Fuck it.
Yeah. It's not, and they really picked 7 because I could see it the case that like they had 32 teams ranked, and there's like a screenshot of just like the 7. No, it literally says ranking. It says ranking the top 7. Like it's not like ranking 32 rushing attack and just a screenshot of like the 7.
Yeah, like if you click on the link, here's the full thing. Like this.
Yeah, no, it literally says ranking top 7. Like it's a random ass number. I don't know, man.
That's funny to me, Jonathan. That's one of those things where you can tell us. Maybe that's what this segment needs to be about. How to identify clickbait for viewers. I mean, if a guy does a top 7 over a top 5 and top 10 and puts a guy that tandem that have never played a game together, clickbait.
Yeah.
And then the picture they use a picture of Jalen Hurts, and I'm pretty sure, is that a receiver or is that
first number is 1, I think.
Oh, I think it might be Carter Bidwell, who's like that receiver who can.
Oh yeah, he's number 14. So
yeah.
That makes sense.
So, but they have the picture they're using for the article as the number 5 team. The team that would widely be considered probably the number 1. That's who something's clickbait. You didn't even put the number 1 team in your picture.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to say too, like maybe they're banking on the fact that the Bears won't run it as much with Fields, which lowers their overall like ranking, but they're still gonna run it with Fields, dude.
If that's your argument, then Lamar Jackson should be down too, because they just got rid of Greg Roman, who was like big on the running quarterbacks. Like he was like Colin Kaepernick's offensive coordinator.
Sure. Yeah.
They just got rid of him and went with a guy that's more like a passing attack kind of offensive coordinator. So if that's the case, then he should be lower too.
So they're basically just shitting on like the Bears, basically. Like they're like,
I think
yeah,
well, what's funny is that's an indirect shit. They're actually shitting on the Eagles because again, they used the Eagles in the picture. The Eagles were widely considered the number one rushing attack last year, and they put them at 5 and didn't even bother to put the running backs' names in the freaking title. Like they looked at the Tennessee Titans backup running back and put him in there, but didn't bother to look up who the hell plays running back for the Eagles.
and then they just got Swift, which is a pretty big name. Like you think they put at
Yeah,
least put that on there, like
but you looked up the Ravens backup running back with, I'm sorry, not backup running. We have Lamar Jackson, and then you have their starting running back, and then the backup running back to that. You managed
yeah.
to slide Debo onto here for the Niners, but didn't even bother to Google who the hell plays running back for the Eagles. Again, that's just you can see it's a very unserious clickbaity list. And again, shit
Yeah.
on the Bears, I think it was like a thought they didn't even think about. But I think the main group they were trying to piss off was for sure Philly fans.
Bro, what really got me fucking dumbfounded is just like the Jets, man. They've got Aaron Rodgers too. Like, you really think they're going to run the ball for a total of like 15 to 2,000 yards?
Well, maybe. I mean,
I don't see it,
I
man.
think they so I think
No.
they still run a lot of play action. In order to set the play action, you do need to have a strong run game. And you do have Brees Hall, who had the signs of being a star running back last year. We know he's got the talent. He had that at Iowa State. So maybe they do, just like take some of the pressure off of Aaron Rodgers of, hey, boot out, play action off of this. So maybe that's what they do end the season at is that 15 to 2,000 yards. But yeah, again, like I said, you can just look at it. A lot of
I
this.
just don't see that. I mean, let's look at wish I could find here. Give me 1 second here.
I mean, Brees Hall could probably get 1,200 by himself. Then Michael Carter just needs to get about 300 there to get into the
Yeah.
1,500 range.
So yeah, so I guess that's a pretty good range because the Bears ran for 3,000 yards last year total, and they're
What did
at
the
number one.
what did the Eagles run for?
1 second here.
Because again, I remember them talking last year how the Eagles had the number one rushing attack, followed by the 49ers. So maybe it was yards per carry was what they were basing it off of, not total yards.
Total rushing yards 2,500.
So maybe it was yards per carry.
Oh man, I don't know. That just doesn't seem
Yeah,
okay.
but
So
still,
even with the same philosophy, okay, yeah, they might run it with Brees and Carter instead of the play action. They're not running enough though to be top six.
no,
Like I just don't see that.
no. But again, like I said, we know 33rd teams has a tendency to put some clickbaity stuff up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's unfortunate for Bears fans because again, I don't think they're even trying to like shit on you guys. I just don't even think they ever give it a thought about shitting on you guys.
I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I wasn't too offended because honestly, like, I don't want them to run field for 1,100 yards this year against
No,
Tampa
but if they
Bay.
wanted
But
to, that would definitely make them a top rushing attack.
it just seemed like a shot. Like that's what
Yeah.
it seemed like. We just came off. I mean, only thing the Bears could do last year was run the ball. They were the best rushing team by a good margin, I think. And
Yeah.
they're not even top seven. And for this year's rushing tag based off the 30-13 list, whatever, bro.
Well, I wonder how the Falcons fans must feel because they had a guy, and if we're going off of rookies being on here, they had a guy last year that ran for I think 1,200 yards, Tyler, and then they drafted Bijan Robinson. Shouldn't they be on this list?
True.
I mean the Viking or not the Vikings. The Raiders still have Josh Jacobs. Shouldn't they be on this list? I mean, it's just it just seems like a guy that just took I'm sorry, two guys. It's Charles Davis, our favorite broadcaster.
Yeah.
He's I'm not gonna lie to you. He's part of the reason I stopped playing Madden.
Yeah, you think so? Really? I
For me
stopped playing Madden because
personally,
the game just like sucks.
the game sucks. But I got so tired of listening to his bad commentary on the game. I was like, I can't play this anymore. This is so bad.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So yeah, so if Charles Davis is on this, that tells me all I need to know about this list.
I mean, I want to see how many total rushing yards the Packers had last season.
2,372 yards.
Did they really just?
That was bullshit. I'm kidding.
Like you just have like Google in your brain.
Why should it really be
You're
that?
close. There's 2,113 yards.
Damn it.
So you're close. But okay, so even like given that example, the Bears ran for 1,000 yards more, close to it than the Packers did, and the Bears are off his list, and the Packers are number 2.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
No. Yeah.
Come
Like I
on,
said,
man.
yeah. Well, I think that kind of about wraps up this episode. What do you think?
Yes, I am hungry and tired.
Time for me to start drinking. It's 1:00.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
5:00 somewhere. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Rational Football League show. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us, comment on our stuff, and turn that notification bell on so you can get the updates when we post our shorts and our little clips, as well as our whole episodes on the weekends. We do post every Monday. But until next time, we will see you guys later.